Folks, you're really not going to like this. I'll explain what I mean and then get into the latest home prices and insights for condos across the GTA for week ending July the 30th, 2025. If you want to speak directly with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really simple. Below this video in the description, there's a link to my calendar. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. A while back, we had a condo listed. Now, there was lots of listings in the building. However, we were directly competing with 5 or 6 other condos. And our price point was at the bottom end of those 5 or 6 other condos. So we felt pretty good about our position price-wise. We monitor the building. It's important that we stay on top of the latest activity and everything going on real estate-wise. And we saw that a new listing came up directly competing with our listing, and it was priced $50,000 lower than what we were priced at. As I'm reading through the listing, I can see that they had an offer date strategy. So they had an offer date plan, and the whole price point when you're using an offer date strategy, the whole point is to price low, attract lots of people to the listing, and then on the scheduled offer night to get buyers to compete and to bring up the price. So I call the agent, and it's an agent I've done multiple transactions with over the years. And I call him and we talk about the listing, and I basically ask, so I see you got an offer night planned. Where do you want to be? Like, what's the plan? Where are you expecting to sell at what price? And he said, well, we're expecting to kind of sell around where you're listed at. I said, okay. Well, it's now offer night a few days later, and I can see that they received one offer only. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, so one offer, it's probably not a great one. It's just one. There's no buyers competing. So I'm thinking there's no sale. They're probably going to relist at a more traditional price type strategy. So the next morning, I call the listing agent and I say, hey, how did things go last night? And his response to me is, Santo, you're really not gonna like this. So what are you talking about? And he says, well, we sold for a little bit less than what we were listed at. Wow, that was a shocker, I got to tell you. So now any buyer coming into the building is going to be looking at that as the most recent sale, and compared to all the listings that are out there. So myself and any other buddy who's listed in that building is going to have to relook at their position and make appropriate adjustments. In the second half of this show, I talk about the data, the numbers. These are charts we prepare from scratch. In doing so, we pull up every single sale. And this past week, I noticed a sale in a building. Now, we were competing with this condo. We had listed and sold a condo in that same building. We were competing with that condo that recently sold. And I could tell you the number that it sold at back then, a few months ago when we sold, and we were competing with that, none of us would have, there's no way those sellers would have accepted that number back then. But this is the state of the condo market across the GTA right now. It's important, if you're transacting, to have your finger on the pulse of what's going on. If you think this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. And if you get value from what we're talking about, consider subscribing. Now, let's get into the numbers. Here we go, folks. Condos for the GTA. I gotta say, last week, we couldn't present the data to you because we had some technical issues with our video. Forgive us for that, but we're back. We're strong with the numbers this week, and we are going to be focused on condo apartments for Peel region, York region, and the city of Toronto. Now, for a little while now, York region and Peel region average prices for condo apartments has been pretty similar. We're going to start off with the city of Toronto for week ending July the 30th. 172 condo apartments were sold. 11 of those sold at $1 million or more. 172, we're trying to find and see trends. It doesn't look like volume-wise the amount of condos being sold is really trending in any up or down direction. It seems kind of flat. 172 is kind of normal for months now. 11 selling at $1 million or more. That's a little bit lower than what we normally see. Average sold price is $660,000. If we go back to the peak for this year, which was the beginning of May, definitely average sold prices have been trending down when it comes to condos. Compared to last year, $660,000 is 10% lower for the same week a year ago. The median price of $590,000 is 6% lower. The dotted line of 4-week moving average shows that both average price and median price are trending downwards. 172 were sold. Only 16%, that's very low, sold at list price or more. Listings, we're seeing fewer and fewer listings, which is normal this time of year. What would also be normal is if sales are trending down, but they're not. They're staying kind of flat. But 590 new condos were listed. There are 5,872 available for sale. That amount of active condo listings, that's trending downwards now. But 2.9% of all condos available for sale actually sold. That's not a lot. 2.9% is pretty low. Months of inventory climbed a little bit. We're now sitting at 7.9 months of inventory. That's for the whole city of Toronto, just condo apartments. When we look a little bit closer and we break condos down, or we break the city down into 9 different sections, I just want to point out a couple of areas here to you. If we look at the downtown, so downtown, midtown, and uptown, it's very different. Downtown, 11.1 months of inventory. Midtown, 10.8 months of inventory. Uptown's a little bit more active with 6.5 months of inventory. Etobicoke is one of our more competitive areas at 3.9 months of inventory. Still a balanced market. I'm not saying it's a seller's market, but 3.9 is a big difference, say, from 10.8 or 11.1 months of inventory. That's the whole city still broken down into 9 sections. Let's look at condos from a 1-bedroom condo versus a 2-bedroom condo perspective. 1-bedroom condos, 72 were sold. Average sold price is $543,000. So when we look at sales, we're not really seeing a trend up or down. It's kind of flat. Average sold price, it's trending down. It has for months, but it's not an aggressive trend down. It's a slight downward trend when we're looking at average sold price for 1-bedroom condo apartments. Versus a year ago, $543,000 is 9% lower. And if you kind of look at the difference, between 8 to 10% is kind of the norm over the last 3 months. Here's 2-bedroom condos. 86 were sold. We're not seeing a trend up or down. It's kind of flat, the amount of sales. And when we're looking at average sold price, we're definitely seeing a trend downwards. Average sold price for 2 bedrooms is $751,000. Now, $751,000 is 6% lower than the same week a year ago. That's for 2-bedroom condos. And when we compare 1-bedroom versus 2-bedroom, we see a $208,000 difference in average sold price. Months of inventory also very different. For one bedroom, 8.5 months of inventory. For two bedroom, 6.9 months of inventory. So it's not a huge difference in months of inventory, 8.5 to 6.9, but it does show that the supply-demand ratio for two-bedroom is a bit more aggressive than the one-bedroom condos. More people are opting to buy the two-bedroom condos, or a percentage of supply and demand, basically. And kind of makes sense because most buyers today are end users and they prefer more space. But there's a price tag. It's $200,000 more to buy the two-bedroom versus the one-bedroom on average. Looking at York Region condos, 21 were sold. 2 of those sold at $1 million or more. Now look, 21 is way lower than the last couple of weeks. It's half basically of what we've been selling the last couple of weeks. But we're not foreign to 23, 25, 28 to having low sales. So maybe sales are trending down. It's difficult to say right now. Average sold price, though, kind of seems like it's trending up in York Region for condos. Average sold price for week ending July 30th is $689,000. $689 is 2% higher than this time a year ago. The median price of $655, there's a 0% change, so it's it's pretty much the same as it was a year ago. The dotted line, the 4-week moving average, shows average price and median price trending upwards. 21 we said were sold, almost a quarter, 24% sold at list price or more. 126 were listed. Kind of looks like listings are trending down, but we got to keep an eye on that. 1,150 are available for sale. Now, the amount that actually sold, 1.8%, that's extremely low. So it's kind of hard to put all this data together and have it all make sense. Like some of it makes sense, but when we say that average prices are increasing, well, we got to look deeper into that because it doesn't make sense when only 1.8% of all available condos actually sold. And then months of inventory, shooting way up there at 12.6 months of inventory. So we got to look deeper into which condos are actually selling. And we've done that. And what we're finding is the larger condos, meaning the more expensive condos, there's more of them that are selling, which overall brings the average price up. This is where you kind of got to go deeper into the data. That's why price is increasing. There's more end users looking to buy than, say, investors. And the end users are looking for more family-sized type of condos. And if they're buying those, even though they're cheaper than before, they're still more expensive than the smaller condos. And that overall brings the price up. Here's Peel Region condos. 25 condos were sold. No condos sold at $1 million or more. And kind of when you look at the whole year, there's often weeks where no condos sell at $1 million or more. Average sold price overall for months has been trending down. Currently, it's sitting at $515,000. $515 is 7% lower than this time a year ago. The median price of $505 is 3% lower than the same week a year ago. 25 were sold, 16% sold at list price or more. Listings, fewer listings, that's trending down. 2.2% of all condos in Peel Region actually sold. Of condos available for sale, actually sold. And months of inventory jumped way up at 10.6 months of inventory. Here's a quick summary. We are way up in buyer's market category, territory, no matter how you look at it. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome day.